And we are now recording. So, team one, the floor is yours, and I'll let you know when you have 10 minutes, when you've used up 10 minutes and have 5 minutes to go. Okay, all yours.
Okay, I'll start out. This is our homepage. We are still in the works of naming our school, so if you see throughout the page some different names, we're kind of playing around with what we want to do. This is our homepage of our school for the future. Each one of us is going to go through on the left side and kind of break down, you know, our sections and explain ourselves. So our first one was a day in the life. And we're going to kind of put in here some examples of what a student's day may look like, some different perspectives for the students, and so that someone could come along and see what our school was like. They're all going to be very different. So, and you'll understand more as we go on. Okay, so the About Us.
Okay, so I'm going to cover the About Us, and Melissa, if it's okay, if I could just kind of ask you to switch it as I go through them. So if you could first click on Administration. So this area is where we're going to focus on the administrators and who's working at the school, and we're going to describe all of them and their diverse background, including their previous experience in such things as nonprofit management, public and private school administration, and also working with the MIT, the Design Lab. And they all bring different skills to the institution that creates an innovative model for the school. If you could switch to contact information. So this is where the administration provides we will be providing detailed information about how to reach faculty and staff at the school, and whether it's someone that needs to be contacted at a physical location or in a virtual environment. This is where everyone will be able to find the contact information. Next one, corporate relationships. So within the school, we have relationships with both higher education partnerships and also corporations. And the school builds relationships in two ways, either directly through contacts with corporate partners or in connection with higher ed institutions. And the purpose of these partnerships is to offer mentoring opportunities for corporate staff with the, I've been referring it as CNI Institute, so with the CNI students. And the goal of the partnerships is twofold. It's to allow the employees in the businesses to gain non-credit course experience at the institutions, and to allow the students to learn from the employees and their real world experiences. And this is accomplished through mentoring. And Eric's going to talk a little bit more about this in detail a little bit further in the presentation. If you could go to faculty. And this section we'll build on this, and this will provide an overview of the currently employed faculty at the Institute. And the final product will go into detail about their backgrounds and work experiences and where they come from. And as I mentioned, the higher ed partnerships, that's kind of in collaboration with the corporate relationships, and these are built in many different ways with locally and worldwide with colleges and universities. And this, like I said, feeds into our relationships with the corporate partners for mentoring placement. And this area, this is where we'll use it to provide an overview of the partnerships that the schools are currently maintaining. And then locations, and this is where we'll showcase our physical brick and mortar locations along with our virtual space that we will have for students and faculty and staff. And this can be used for contact purposes and also for marketing initiatives. And now Jackie is going to talk about the mentoring programs.
So in our school, we have several different groups of people coming together. We have high school students, we have non-traditional students, meaning people more my age who have been in the workplace for many years, but who need to sharpen their skills and maybe participate in some training to get up to date on what's needed now. And also our corporate sponsors and higher ed partners. So we're going to put some information here about the benefits of reverse mentoring and also symbiotic mentoring. So really talk about how everyone benefits from these types of relationships. And then our mission statement, starting to develop it, but of course we want to address the fact that we live in an ever-changing global community. And so we're committed to providing students with the skills they need for sustainable living. And we talk about customized pathways to their learning, different mentoring programs, internships, immersion experiences, service learning, everything that the school provides and the program provides for them.
Okay, and I can speak to our budding course list here. Overall, our vision is that, we want to maybe remove some of the labels that we currently see today between high school students, college students, working professionals. And so we thought, well, how can we accomplish that all in the same physical or virtual learning space when we have these mentorships, these symbiotic mentorships? And so we thought, well, what if we take this interdisciplinary course and use that as a model to connect both traditional, non-traditional, young and old students, and so on. I believe Melissa or somebody else is going to be talking more about the learning path, possibly, but essentially we started thinking about, what do people need out of education? Should education consist of learning your core subjects in, in their discrete forms, like one class is math, the next class is, social sciences class? Or can we start looking at courses as interdisciplinary by nature, courses within which multiple subjects are studied and potentially mastered? So we have some examples here on this page. Nothing too firm yet, but we're trying to explore different concepts like the space program, sustainability, music, in ways that would be workable and understandable both to young people and to old people at the same time. Not old people, but seasoned professionals, the opposite of young people. Okay. So for deciding on my path, who is taking that one, Melissa?
Okay, so a little bit about the students that come to our school. We're going to use several different tools to figure out what path they want to get involved in. There's some websites, like this career cruising website, that is based on Holland's codes, which are like 6 personality codes that have to do with like vocational schools, and what kind of, the theory is you figuring out what your personality is and what your interests are and your skills, and then kind of figuring out what path you should go into. So this is kind of our base for the school. As far as once the students decide to enroll, we're going to help them find their path. So it'd be similar to a college where we had advisors, and based on your department and based on what role you want to where you want to go. So some of these are just some websites and some links of like our theory and our process of how these students are going to figure out their path and how we're going to help them do that, and how they're going to have a part in deciding what they want to do with their lives and where they want to go, and the classes they take. So that's a little bit about that part. There's the next one.
And I know Dolly and I both worked on this. So Dolly, I'm not sure if you wanted to, jump in with.
I'll go ahead. So based on the 10 Faces of Innovation and the Set Designer, and also reading about all of those companies, we kind of wanted to be very innovative in our learning environments. So we tried to incorporate like some open spaces, some spaces that foster creative thinking. If you keep going down, some spaces that foster group work, lend themselves nicely to networking and getting out there. Outdoor space for some more creative thinking. And then these bottom 2 pictures. So one thought that we have about our school is that, they're not always going to be in a brick and mortar location, but we potentially have campuses, and they might be in a classroom setting or one of those learning environments, and then they're going to go out into the community to work with whatever corporation they're working with. And so we thought having bikes to be able to get to locations, a little bit more eco-friendly, kind of create a group environment. And then the bottom picture is kind of what it would look like. There's not really an age limit. We don't really know. It's kind of people out there working with corporations, getting their hands dirty and learning not only in their classroom environment, but also out there in the world.
And I think the only thing I want to add to that is if you can scroll up to the very top, Melissa, one of our rationales was, we want to create, or rather, we only want a very fine line to distinguish between in-class learning and out-of-class learning. We really don't want a distinction between the two in the end. So our buildings are designed in such a way that the outside kind of comes inside a little bit and the inside kind of goes outside. And that's an intentional architectural approach to sort of bring that philosophy home for the students who are part of the school.
5 minutes.
Okay, this is our marketing approach, lifelong learning. This is where we offer the individual and organizational benefits of our education platform, kind of flow into that symbiotic relationship between careers and organizations, and careers and individuals through the education path. So from an individual perspective, if you're looking at this potential education platform, maybe you're looking at it for maybe as an entrepreneurial career development avenue, maybe a redefinition of or recreation of your current skills, some other way to apply what you already know, your knowledge base, I guess, maybe a recareering type of platform. But also the other way we show it is from an organizational perspective. How can an organization benefit by enticing their employees to either partake in this platform or as an organization participate in the mentoring type application? And that's where we show kind of the benefits to your organization for being up to date, relevant, having a remotivated workforce, a re-engaged workforce. Again, a redefinition of a current knowledge base. Maybe you can see your business redeveloping into a different path, and you don't want to necessarily lose that knowledge resource. So you just want to redefine it, reapply it. Also, kind of it gives an organization a way to stay in touch with the current thought processes out in the world today, because you're constantly kind of touching and sensing what the current themes are in the educational marketplace, if you will.
And I'm not sure if we already kind of did speak a little bit about a mission statement, but Melissa, if you can go down to the sample coursework, unless anybody wanted to show the online page, but I think we're still working on that. One of the last things I know that I think I want to mention and make clear is that because we're dealing with students of multiple ages and multiple skill sets, multiple levels of experience here, we thought, how can we integrate all of these different types of students into one course? So we came up with this level system that's based on Bloom's taxonomy, where you can enroll as a level 1, a level 2, or a level 3 in any given course, depending on your level of comfort and your experience. So if you enroll as level 1, you would get a level 1 credit for that particular course. And the learning objectives, if any, we're still kind of torn as to, how to word them, because we don't really want education to seem outcome oriented. We want it to seem like it's, something that's, motivated from the inside intrinsically. So we have level 1, which focuses on knowledge and comprehension, level 2, which focuses on application and analysis, and then level 3 that focuses on synthesis and evaluation. So we envision younger students coming in, taking courses and focusing on that knowledge and comprehension, high school, college, maybe applying, and then the professionals in the field coming in and enrolling as level 3 students, and to be able to, synthesize and apply and create as part of their coursework.
Okay. And then the last few things here are just a little bit more about why choose our academy, why choose our school. which I said we're still playing around with the name here, a little bit more about the career paths that we're going to enroll for our students to figure out which way they want to go, and some more about like jobs for the future. So things are ever changing. We decided that we're going to work on our curriculum. Maybe, once a year we would get together and try to figure out, where are we lacking? Where is the future headed? What kind of changes do we need to make, adjustments to our school, as far as to benefit the level 1s, level 2s, and level 3. So we didn't really stick to an age. We tried to do it more on a, open setting, and the students have more of a say so in what we're doing, and we can partner with, how to make it sustainable and have a global approach.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much.
Melissa, I'm sorry, I was muted. Do we still have a second to open those up? We have content in those.
Sure.
Sorry.
Open one up, yeah.
So under career paths, we started exploring different possibilities, looking at the different interests of the students. So we started looking at ways students interested in perhaps a STEM field or something more global. We'll expand this to include the arts and more of the humanities. Corporate partnerships, we just start putting together a list there. And then jobs for the future, we talked about how we keep hearing the same quote over and over again that, we're preparing students for jobs that don't even exist yet. And we need to prepare them more with the global competencies and, the 21st century skills that they can survive and continue to adapt in this changing world. And then, Laura, I believe you added that last piece. The jobs for the future?
Oh, the data here?
Oh, I ended up putting that data in. That was me.
Sure.
Thanks. I was going to say, I didn't remember doing that.
Sorry.
Okay, so what I'd like now is for other team members from the other teams to kind of give feedback to Team 1. What you're seeing, any questions you might have, suggestions, etc.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have a question. In the beginning, it wasn't clear to me what student population you were targeting, and then towards the end, it still wasn't clear to me what student population you're targeting. Is it like middle school through college and professionals, or high schoolers? So if you could help me understand that, that'd be great.
See, I don't know if anyone else wants to contribute, but I think we're still very up in the air about that, because using terms like that, we're creating these categories that we really want to try and break out of for this project. But, we find ourselves kind of relying on those key terms. So, if you want to think of it that way, I think our discussions mostly focused on high school, college, and professional. But I don't know, we did have some discussion about middle school as well.
I would say it's more of a age thing, not necessarily a grade. So, teenagers, late teens, early 20s. So it doesn't really matter what grade they're in, but it's more levels based on their abilities. Because, we have kids that are 6th grade that can do 9th grade math. So, it's not really like that. We wanted less structure is actually what we were going for.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I have a quick question. I was a little unclear. Are you doing a specifically online learning place, or is this like half online, and you are planning an actual location where people can come together, or is it all going to be a digital experience?
We're envisioning some, as we said, brick and mortar locations, online, some virtual opportunities, but also getting the students out in the field, getting them experiencing life, talking about those corporate sponsorships and the higher education partnerships as well. So they'll be out in the field, they'll be in these locations, and also working the way we are right now, virtually.
So somebody could be, there's a student in San Francisco that is near one of our physical locations, then they could, be in, a setting like these pictures. But then if there's somebody in maybe South America that is not near one of our locations, that would be, possibly a completely virtual setting for them, along with maybe going out into the business world to work with their mentors.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting listening to your presentation. First of all, I want to tell you, I've been doing this 6 years now, and you are the first group that has put together a website, which I find kind of interesting. To present this. I was thinking about if you went public with this right now, it would be very interesting to see what type of response you would get from people all over the place, because it's kind of interesting to design. It's almost like what was going through my mind as I was thinking about this is that this is almost a community center that looks at lifelong learning. And I'm going to put it this way. You know how Wawa is a convenience store and you go in and get a lot of stuff? This is almost like Wawa of the mind, where the flexibility that you're looking at from both physical space, as you have there, San Francisco, Philadelphia, New York, etc., and then you also have this virtual space. It really allows for the possibility of any type of community or hubs of communities interacting across the self-organizing learning spaces.
I would argue it's more Wegmans than Wawa.
Okay, well,
because of the offerings, really.
Yeah, right. No, but I was just looking at it that it's kind of it allows for some very interesting flexibility, but more importantly, there seems to be the sense of self-organizing around those types of issues, around data, around the things that you guys are looking at, and you're not trying to confine people to traditional grade level or anything of that nature. That's just how I'm looking at it. That's really jumping out at me a lot. That it really gives a very interesting way of going cross boundaries and not getting locked into traditional silos. The only comment I had there is I saw STEM, whereas you started talking about it, this idea of you're looking at, particularly like you had the Rhode Island School of Design and Art, etc. So I think STEAM becomes a much more apropos metaphor than STEM.
Thank you.
Other comments to Team 1?
Quick question. Can you explain how the use of your Bloom's taxonomy is going to assess students in enrolling into the programs?
Sure. So I'm not sure what you mean by enrolling. This is kind of how we envision once the students are enrolled. If we are going to assess, and I think we have to assess in some sort of way, these are the outcomes that we want to see. So for enrollment, do you mean like, are we going to be using these as criteria to accept or deny an application? Well, this is something we didn't really discuss yet, so I'm glad you brought it up, but I think I would envision this closer to being something like open enrollment, but maybe with some sort of, prerequisite either of life experience or, the ability to pass some sort of, I don't want to say assessment because then we're kind of putting ourselves into a box again, but, proving in some way that they're able to, that they have the cognitive skills to apply or to critique or to synthesize, something of that nature. So that's a good question. I think that's something that we need to work on yet, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's almost like Khan Academy. You could jump into Khan Academy any spot you want. I mean, mathematics, if you want to see what differentiated equations look like, but you're still functioning in, lower levels of computation, et cetera, you could still do it and jump in and take a look at it. get an idea what it might be. So there's no prerequisite in a sense. It's just where my interests lie.
Exactly. And you never really know what you're capable of doing, you know, unless you open up that advanced math textbook or attend one of those classes. That's kind of one of our theories here. Yes, some things certainly need build up, you know, especially when you're talking about math. But by and large, we think follow your interests. You know, you never know what's going to bloom out of that. No pun intended with Bloom's taxonomy.
Okay. So, anything else, any other feedback for this group? And as usual, what I want you to do is, as you think about this, and this is being recorded, and I'm going to do these as separate recordings, so this will be up again. And if you look at this and you got any other ideas to give to this team, do it, because you're not in competition with each other. You know, the teams, this isn't a competitive process. It's an idea of, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool, you know, but I want to give you some feedback because I had a little time to, you know, rethink it again. Okay, so that's going to be team one. I'm going to stop the recording. That way I can then